everyone, welcome to Andy 101. Today we've got an old friend with us all, Richard Colless, the longest serving chairman of Sydney Swans and the current chairman of the asset management division of MA Financial Group. G'day, Richard.
Eddie, how you going?
Good, how are you?
Good to see you. I'm well, and good to see you
That's
again.
good, it's been a long time.
It is.
So what are your thoughts around the event last year, which was really impressive?
Well, I mean, getting there was like climbing Mount Everest, and we had a concept, but we didn't have any sort of proof that it would work. We didn't have any prior events that we'd run. So it was actually quite challenging. But I think the result was just so overwhelmingly positive, not just with the people that attended, but the coverage to the Chinese-Australian audience.
That's right.
And you were a big part of that.
Correct, I was.
And then back into China. And the Chinese embassy organised all of that. So this year's, I think, got a very different feel to it.
Mate, you made history, I think, last year because you were the first person to facilitate and really put this all together under a Chinese theme, the Dragon Boat Festival, Duanwujie. So the Chinese ambassador was also there. What were his thoughts around it?
Well, I think every significant Chinese diplomat or head of a business organisation was there. So we had the ambassador, the consul general, the chair of the Chinese Chamber of Commerce in Australia, etc., etc. The senior person was the ambassador. So we went to Canberra to brief probably 70 of the ambassador's staff because he felt this is a cultural element of Australia that we don't know as much about as we should. So firstly, there was that, and then he brought quite a few of the senior members of the embassy up. I watched the game with him. Prior to that, he'd tossed the coin, and he just, I think, really loved it. And he was the epitome of what we're aiming for, and that is friendship. And there are a number of photos, and I can say this because they were released by the embassy, of he and I doing a big man hug. So I think it's fair to say he and his colleagues at the embassy thought it was great. His speech was simple and to the topic, as were the speeches of everyone. But back to your question, I think he and his colleagues thought it was fantastic, and we thought their embracing of it and then the work they did to promote it in China, it was. I mean, I think
that was remarkable.
It was I think he was staggered. We were beyond staggered.
What do Aussies think about the Flying Dragon last year?
Oh, I think people were blown away by it.
Yeah, it was very remarkable.
Yeah, no, it was.
Who came up with the idea?
Well, Franny Hugh from our office claimed she did. So, no, I think...
I believe that because she's of Chinese heritage.
Yes,
there you go.
Yes, indeed. Last year we probably... it sounded like a good idea to have groups of the Dragon and Lion performers at the 5 major gates. But I think this will have greater impact. They'll all be together in one spot.
What do you have this time to offer that's different to last year, you reckon?
Well, I guess there are two audiences. One is for the Duanwu event, and that probably won't be much different. We had, it was opened by one of my colleagues, and it was sort of unusual for a young woman to sort of just get up unannounced and start speaking in Mandarin. And I don't know what she said, but she had the Mandarin speakers eating out of the palm of her hand. There was a lot of laughter and a lot of applause. And I think what we want to do is we don't want just a number of speeches from prominent people, and that's fundamentally what the event is built around, but we want to sort of have breaks that are perhaps a little light-hearted. And one of the things we did last year, we had a Chinese soprano, beautiful voice,
beautiful
who
voice.
sang the Sydney Swan song, in English, and that was, well, that's natural, you do that, the Swans are the home team, and then without announcing it, switched to Mandarin. Initially we're going to do both teams, and I think it's the sort of thing that generally these sort of events don't do. They probably take them... Look, I think what we're trying to achieve, we take very seriously, but the way we do it, I think, involves a little bit of lightheartedness. And what I found last year was, when the Premier, for instance, said, well, what do you want me to talk about? I said, well, I just want you to welcome people. Don't talk for too long, which is always a request to make to a politician.
Yeah.
And Mr. Minns was fantastic. He just he said, no, I got it. And Chris Bowen, the senior minister in the federal government, spoke, and he is quite an AFL fan. The Chinese ambassador spoke, and all of them in their own way, and just through their own, their lens, talked about friendship and how people fundamentally, well, we might have significant cultural differences and language differences. Most people, are the same. That's what we found. There was just this warmth.
That's right.
The room had a very welcoming feel to it, I think.
So you mentioned about how the purpose was to establish a friendship between Australia and China, and really strengthen that through cultural exchange. And it's very promising to see that Australia and China are on good terms now, despite what happened before. And I think it's people like you that play a pivotal role in this, strengthening through, non-political activities and through cultural exchange, which is what life is meant to be. Richard, this event sounds really exciting. So when and where is it happening?
Very good question, Andy. It's at the SCG again. It's in the same venue, the Steve Waugh Room, which holds nearly 400 people, and all the seating has gone, thankfully. It will have a stellar list of Chinese and Australian dignitaries, politicians, diplomats, business people, community leaders. And the game itself will start at 3:20. People can watch it on Foxtel, 504. Or they can see if they can get a ticket and come to the game. But no, look, it's very exciting, and it's just been so much easier this year. The demand has sort of
that's right,
has sort of almost overwhelmed us, whereas last year it wasn't pushback, but we had to do a lot more explaining. And all you do now is you just send, you direct someone to the website, or you send them all the hyperlinks of the promotional stuff that went back into China, and people get it.
That's right.
And the point I would make is that from the outset, the aim was that we've got to start slowly and humbly and so on and so forth, but we want this to become an institutional event where it's held within a few days of Duan Wu every year. It's backed by the AFL and Chinese and Australian governments and diplomats, Chinese community leaders. It just becomes one of those events. It's on the calendar and it's a must-go-to thing.
Well done, Richard.
Yeah, no, thanks, Andy. And it's been a really uplifting exercise getting to know so many senior Chinese people, and behind closed doors, we are all the same.
That's right. Well, congratulations again on last year.
Thank you.
And looking forward to the match. Thanks, Richard.
Okay.
Cheers, mate.
Hi, I'm Jake Lloyd from the Sydney Swans. Everyone is welcome at the football, and the Sydney Swans would love to see our local Chinese Australian supporters at the SCG this season. See you at the footy.